to Vasquez.
Freshman clean, who's driving, floats it.
And here comes the pitch on the floor. Here with 2 seconds. Here it goes for the win.
What is up, Terps fans? Welcome into another Fear the Podcast here on Inside Maryland Sports Radio. Man, what an interesting one for the Terps here. They shrug off, let's say, a sluggish first half, as maybe being kind to them. Make a real run of it in the second half, ultimately fall a little short, losing to Rutgers 69-65. Getting swept by Rutgers in 1 year, not ideal, but that's just kind of the year the Terps have had. Some good, some bad, some ugly in this one. We'll break the whole thing down for you here as we go. As always up front, if you could hit that like button for us, we very much do appreciate it. Also, if anybody wants to sponsor the show, I don't know, we work cheap, so if you got a local business or company, band you want to promote, something, let me know here, and we could figure something out. Always an option if you want to do that. So the Terps, man, let's break this whole thing down for you. The first half, like I said, was not great. I think is probably the kindest way to put that. The Terps scored 20 points in the entire first half. They gave up 39, so pretty big disparity there. They shoot 1 of 14 from 3 in the first half, which if you're not a math person, 7% is not good, not ideal. They were 25% from the free throw line. They were all Darius Adams free throws early, like within the first minute of the game, and he only made 1 of the 4 attempts, which is not great, especially because they put Rutgers on the line 9 times, and Rutgers made 8 of them. A relatively good first half performance, rebounding the ball, and that was largely because they were collecting a lot of their own misses, so I'll give them some credit for that. They had 27 rebounds in the first half. 10 of them were offensive. A lot of back taps from Washington and Saunders. Specifically got a couple from Mills as well. Like, guys were trying to get in there and dislodge the ball from a Rutgers team that honestly just didn't seem to have very good rebounding fundamentals. There was not a lot of boxing out. It was just guys trying to outjump other people, and the Maryland guys were a little quicker to get to spots and try to beat them there too. Just kind of going through the rest of the first half here, the other huge number here is 14 turnovers. Buzz Williams just talked about what buzzball is, right? Like, it's getting to the free throw line. Didn't do that very well. It's getting rebounds. Did do that well. But when you shoot 32% from the field, there are a lot of misses to try to rebound. 14 turnovers in a half is just absolutely unacceptable for whatever level of basketball you're playing. When I was coaching 12-year-old, like JV caliber boys basketball, if they'd had 14 turnovers in a half, I would have been just enraged. So to be a Division I coach and see that from your team, especially when you only force 1 turnover on the other end, like, it is just unwinnable. Like, you will get boat raced in a half if you do that, honestly. Like, Rutgers didn't even shoot the ball particularly well. They made 14 of their 31 overall first half attempts, which is pretty good to be 45% from the field. You can live with that. But they were 3 of 10 from the three-point line, like nothing special there. I mentioned the free throw attempts for them that obviously helped out, but just if you're Maryland, like, you cannot spot a team that many attempts. And just continuing to go through the first half a little bit more. Maryland took 6 threes in the first 6 minutes of this game. They missed all of them. A couple of them were off of offensive rebounds as well. Maryland seemingly is the only team that doesn't just, like, guaranteed knock down the 3 off the offensive rebound. Seems like everyone makes every 3 off an offensive rebound the Terps allow. They were 1 of 13 in the first 17 minutes there. It was 36-16 at one point. It was as bad a first half as I've seen this team play, and this is a team that's been lost like by 30 multiple times this year, and I think they lost by 41. So, like, to play as bad a half as you've seen, just given the competition, they looked lackadaisical. I don't know if guys were, like, tired from getting up for chapel at 5:30 before a noon start. Like, I'm not sure why the effort was so, honestly, embarrassing. Like, I hate to crush people like that, but I was embarrassed that was my team in the first half. The passing especially, a lot of, like, floating, just, like, half handoff moonball passes that, like, you wouldn't make in my slow old man 35 plus pickup game because you'd expect somebody to pick 6 you. This team did multiple times. it's just like even the shot that Rutgers hit was kind of fluky to end the half to go up, make it from 16 to 19. The three right at the buzzer there. Nobody stopped the ball. They just let him get all the way to the 3-point line and kind of pull up, and he hit an off balance shot. But like, you've got to force him to weave through some people a little bit more and eat up some more time. So that's a 35-foot shot, not a 22-foot shot. I think the offense overall was more conducive. There was to like actually, it actually suits the personnel. Like, that is a nice change this team has made. They were just settling for too many threes early, but when they actually set some down screens, had some guys cut. There was like a flex cut at one point, which was a little old school Gary Williams throwback. I don't know if that's a regular wrinkle in the offense they're trying to instill here. I haven't noticed it much, but I did appreciate seeing one of them at least. That was huge. Like, just little stuff to try to catch a not great or not disciplined Rutgers team sleeping actually led to a few good looks. They just honestly couldn't make most of their wide open shots they created. That's not fully on the coaching staff. Guys have to hit shots at this level, but it is the team you assembled where guys don't hit a lot of shots. Also set 2 illegal screens in the first half, basically in the first 10 minutes of this game, which I just don't know how you're doing that at this point in the year. Like, one of them, like, okay, maybe you stuck your hip out a little bit, okay, but they were just like brutally bad calls, and not bad calls in the sense they were bad calls by the referee, but bad in the sense like it's bad plays from the Terps that just shouldn't happen. But they did try to make it better in the second half. They went on an early 13 run, just in like the under 16-minute timeout to the under 12-minute timeout, somewhere like that. They cut the Rutgers lead to 45-41. They stretched out to a 17-2 run over a 4-minute stretch, and ultimately they got it up to 20-2 run in favor of the Terps over a 5-minute stretch, which led to the Terps leading 48-47 with about 10 minutes to go. And I think some of that honestly was Rutgers not used to being up that much on a team, just given the way their season has been, and maybe kind of giving up a little bit here. But it's just it's just a tough look from the Terps, right? Like, you shouldn't be digging that big of a hole. They did play hard to get back in there, but some of this is just the competition allowed them to get back in this as well. Like, the level came down from this Rutgers team, and we saw when Rutgers wanted to increase the level again at the end, they were able to stymie anything Maryland was trying to do offensively. Got a question here from JLU Flock Prods in the chat. I'm going to circle back to it about Diggy Coit in a second here, so just bear with me. I want to kind of go through this game narratively here a little bit. One of the things that was big for them in the second half was the decision to say, oh, you know what's been working for us? This Andre Mills guy. Why don't we do more of that? He goes 5 of 8 in the second half from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, scores 13 points. One of them was kind of meaningless at the buzzer, but still the 10 points were big, had 4 rebounds. I'm in the tank for Mills, even when he wasn't making shots, for the first third of the season, realistically. You just could see the effort. He finishes the game with 15 points, 10 rebounds, only 1 assist, but I still feel like his ability to drive and get downhill puts so much pressure on a defense, and he's really the only one that can do that. So, like, he's not a true point guard, but you almost need him to have the ball in his hands because he puts enough pressure on the defense to actually put them in rotation, and that leads to open shots for other guys. And I thought there was a pretty good stretch of this game here in the second half where the ball movement was kind of good. They only had 5 assisted baskets in the second half, but it just felt like the ball was making its way around the horn a little bit to just get them a little more separation from their defenders. Mills only 1 turnover in this game, despite how much he had the ball. I think is actually pretty impressive considering how much everyone else was turning over the ball. He played 34 minutes. I just thought that was a really good performance from him. He was 3 of 10 from 3 overall here. He just couldn't buy one in the first half, and I just think that's where he's going to be as a shooter and be inconsistent. But like, getting him to the basket more made a bigger difference. And then when they have to actually account for that, now you get better shots from the 3-point line here as well, because they've got to sag off you a bit to stay in front of you. Other big performance in this game, there's 2 more I want to mention specifically here, but Solomon Washington, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. He did have 5 turnovers, which were not great, but 4 blocks and 2 steals. The guy was literally everywhere defensively. Unfortunately, on one possession late in the second half, he blocked a shot and then had to mean mug the player while Maryland still hadn't actually gotten the ball yet. And they, instead of boxing a guy out, he let a guy get all the way to the rim and score. So, like, I mean, it's not solely on him, but you just can't give up on a play because you make a good play. Like, that's a little bit of an issue. I've used this same line a million times across every podcast, but I do believe this more than just about anything. John Thompson always said, I'd rather calm down a fool than raise a corpse. I feel like that's so applicable to Solomon Washington. Like, you just take the good with the bad there because you never have to worry about, like, is he into it or not? And he was into it. He actually made all 5 of his free throws, including a couple of them late in this game, and I thought that was huge. I really want to shout out Elijah Saunders. He's somebody that's taken a lot of grief from us as a fan base, and I think some of this is like maybe my fault, honestly, because I think I set really high expectations, at least for listeners of this podcast. I thought Elijah would be like a guaranteed, 12-5 or 11-6 guy every single night on a good Big Ten team, and unfortunately he hasn't put up like crazy numbers on a bad Big Ten team, but this was more along the lines of what we wanted to see from him. And I think the last week or two has been pretty good Elijah stuff for the most part. He's always going to have a few limited games here and there, but using him as a stretch big, just board crasher, I think is much more in line with his skill set than like trying to post him up and have him do all the stuff Pharrell Payne was supposed to do in this offense. Saunders finished with 11 points, 3 of 8 from 3. Those are the only shot attempts he took were from 3, other than his 2 free throws he shot, which he made. Finished with 14 rebounds, and they were all huge. Like, literally, I mean, not every single rebound was huge, but, like, they needed those rebounds to have a chance in this game. And him being big on the boards, his 3 offensive rebounds, I think most of them were probably back taps, but they were still important. But he also swung the ball and was really unselfish for a lot of this game, ending up with 4 assists. I do have a nit to pick with Mr. Saunders, though. He had an opportunity at the end of this game and just like passes up a wide open 3 with 30 seconds left. And I get it because how much time was on the clock. He was probably told not to shoot it right away and rush it. But him shooting a wide open stationary 3 is always the best look they were going to get in a situation like that. Instead, they end up with a really, really tough 25 plus step back from Diggy Coyd. And that's where I wanted to circle back to what JLU Prod said in the chat. Does Diggy think he's still the man taking that shot? And Stephen S. says yes. Yeah, I mean, it's tough, but someone has to take those shots. Like, having the stones enough to take tough shots at the end of the games is a skill, unfortunately, that a lot of guys on this team do not have. And we saw so many people being passive down the stretch of this game. JLU says the ball should have been in Mills's hand when Diggy took that shot, or literally just drive to the paint and try to get a foul. The ball should have been in Mills' hands, to be very clear, a lot more than it was down the stretch. And IMS publisher Jeff Erman, my guy, had a tweet about like it was way too early in the year for fans to give up on Guillermo Del Pino. And I agree, he's been more playable as of late. I still don't think he's a meaningful Big Ten contributor. I think this is a guy who's just like competent enough to justify some minutes given the lack of other like reasonable options here. But I thought Del Pino being in the game down the stretch as their not even offense initiator, because he doesn't really create anything for anybody. He's the guy dribbling across half court, and then that's 5 more seconds that it takes for them to get the ball to someone else who can actually like create an advantage or make a play or stress the defense in some way here. I mean, Del Pino has no assists in this game, the 2 turnovers, finished with 4 points, 3 rebounds. He played okay perimeter defense. I don't think he's some lockdown guy, but we're acting like, wow, like we really found a gem here. Tracy Lawrence says, let's not forget Del Pino's only a freshman. That's great. I'm just suggesting that like maybe too early to celebrate, like, oh, wow, he should have been getting all these minutes. Like he struggled, I thought, to be able to impact this game offensively. He had a lot of good looks from 3 that he did not make, and I think that hurt them. So just if you are a guy that is limited physically and not an elite ball handler as a point guard, hitting open shots that teams create for you is probably a good way to stay on the floor. And going 0 for 3 in this game, specifically 0 for 2 late in the second half, I thought was a net negative because that just meant there were more opportunities for the ball to not be in Andre Mills' hands. And that's where it should have been. Delpino is very solid defensively. Yeah, he's fine. I don't think he's anything particularly special, but their offense is so putrid, or excuse me, their defense collectively is so putrid overall. I just think that's like the bar is really low, so that's why he's on the court, is because he's not really gonna like hurt you too much defensively, but being able to have him be an off-ball capable catch and shoot guy and be the recipient of some of Mills' drive and kicks would be a much more useful setup for them. It's just he can't make enough of those shots for that to be meaningful. So he has to be the one to bring the ball across half court for them to be able to be engaged in the offense at all. And it's just limiting the opportunity for Mills to make a play here. So the fact that we didn't see Mills shoot again until the literal last 2 seconds of the game when it was already over, and he hits that three, it's like, okay, like, cool. Like, why didn't we go to this for the last 5 minutes when we couldn't generate a single point here? So Delpino passed up a shot late. Saunders passed up another shot before the one he passed up with 30 seconds late. Like, these guys have to be confident enough to knock down wide open shots when they get good looks at them, and there's just not enough of these guys on the team to do it. So, like, I get that was kind of a hero ball shot from Diggy in a lot of people's minds, but there just really wasn't a lot of like room left. Nobody did anything. It was four other guys just standing in place while he tried to like dance around and create separation. Twice he called for a screen, and his closest teammate waved him off on the screen, and he didn't have an advantage over a 6'4" athletic guard. So I think you have to be more structured offensively down the stretch of a game like that. You do all that work to come back in this game to essentially like just kind of screw the pooch late by not running the same offense that got you back in the game. I just find that a little head scratching overall here. From Tracy Lawrence, do you think Adams is back next year? I've been wondering about that a lot lately, and I think this is going to be one of those ones where if you're him, you have to be self-aware enough to look around and say, like, I really didn't have a very good year. Are there many other Big Ten Big Ten caliber schools that are going to play me as much as I've been playing for this Maryland team, despite not really having any results to justify being on the court as much as he's been on the court? Like, in his 28 games so far this year, he's averaging 26 points, 26 minutes, 11 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 2 turnovers. Like, in a vacuum, those sound like okay freshman numbers, but shooting under 35%, barely under, but still under 35% from the field as a Big Ten guard, whether you're a freshman or not, is putrid. Like, there's just no other word for it. He's 25% from 3 on 4 attempts per game. His free throw generation was the superpower for large stretches of the year, but he's not really doing that as much lately. And today you saw him not knock them down when he did. He shoots 4 free throws a game. He usually makes 3 of them. He's 72% on the year. Today he goes 1 of 4, and they basically just said, cool, you can't make shots, you can't make your free throws, and you don't really defend anyone. Enjoy the bench. So I'm sure that's going to take a little bit of a hit from a pride perspective, but he's got to see where he's at. So, like, if he wants like a big raise, or if Maryland to break the bank to bring him back, you got to part ways at that point. Like, this cannot be a guy you heavily invest in. I still believe that if he can get the jumper right, this is a really, really, really productive Big Ten caliber player. It's just the touch looks kind of tough, and he makes some tough layups and some floaters and some things like that maybe he has soft enough hands to develop into a shooter. But the shoulder-loaded slingshot jumper is not a particularly good formula for me for a high-usage guard, especially when you're not really surrounding him with many other shooters. If he was just a driver in an offense with a bunch of dudes, like, cool, that would maybe be a little better for him, but you're on a team with very little space, and he's not going to help you. It's just tough, man. Stephen S., he had a horrible stretch recently, which differently tanked his draft stock, which he was projected to be a late second rounder. That is just unequivocally false. There were no real draft boards for any competent people that would have had Darius Adams on them after maybe he'd played a single college basketball game. Like, I'm pretty locked in on draft circles here, and I don't think he's been like really on anyone's board. So I hope for his sake he's not thinking NBA or bust was like anywhere in the realm of realistic for him. Even coming into the year as a 4-star recruit, the people I talked to were like, I don't really see it. Like maybe he could sniff late second round if he has a big year. And he did not have a big year. So no NBA team is going to take an under athletic. And I'm not saying that as a shot at you, Steve. That's like, oh, this is a bad comment. Just like I'm saying that from Darius Adams' perspective. I very much hope that he was not delusional enough to think the way he was playing was having him on draft board. So that was directed. And I hope that's not where he's coming from, not you making that comment. I think it was a reasonable one to bring up for sure. It's just, this was a guy that probably did have one and done aspirations, because a lot of guys like do. And when you're that level of recruit, you probably think that that's on the table for you. But it isn't, and it will not be a situation. So like he's going to play college basketball again next year. I'd personally like for it to be Maryland, but it's just, again, he can't be a break the bank kind of situation here. Like he just not shown enough for that. And given where they're going to need like real high level contributing Big Ten caliber players, you better believe that the shooting can come around, or just it's not a great fit personally. And I think hopefully the message that was sent today in the last couple games here that just that's not going to work for you. He played 1 minute in the second half of this basketball game and did nothing in that 1 minute except turn the ball over and immediately went back to the bench. In his last 3 games, like before this, Nebraska, 6 points in 34 minutes. Washington, 3 points in 9 minutes. Before that against Northwestern, 7 points in 25 minutes. He was okay against Rutgers the first go-round, 13 points in 32 minutes on 5 of 12 shooting. Okay, like that was fine. Before that against Iowa, 11 points, 5 of 7 shooting, like pretty good. Like even that level of player, would have been really helpful for this Terps team. Tracy Lawrence, I feel for Washington. He's had to shoot way more than he probably expected. Without Payne, he's had to do so much. Totally agree. He would have been amazing on this team as like the 5th starter energy guy, just destroy people on the boards that, he's more comparable in size to. Like that's where you would really get your advantage if he was playing the small forward on another team. Like even Darren Buchanan, who is a big athletic dude, didn't have much for solo in this game. But him having to do it against other team centers for so much of the season, it speaks to his effort and energy. That's pretty impressive. So yeah, shout out to him. I will appreciate his contributions to a Terps team because he kept them reasonably competitive once he came back. And I say reasonably competitive, but more competitive than it probably looked like they would be leaving the Vegas tournament. From Tracy Lawrence, any rumblings in regards to next season's recruits, any possibility that any of them flip? I've been kind of poking around about this with some of the other guys on the IMS team here. Nothing we're hearing about any of them bailing. I think you can expect this freshman class to be pretty much what we expected here. It's just, I still have the question of how much they're able to contribute. Like you look at Caden House, and essentially he fills the same profile as what Darius Adams is supposed to fill for you, a slashing guard who doesn't really like shoot the ball effectively enough or space the floor for anyone else. He's maybe a more aggressive scorer actually than Adams is, but and maybe there's more potential with the jump shot. We'll have to see. Not really a playmaker though, not a wing, so he's a guard who's probably better on ball, but can he actually make plays for others? The defense, you never hear anybody mention his defense. His twin brother, they mention the defense a lot, so I don't know if that means he doesn't play it or just the role he plays on his team. He's just not asked to lock people up, so they don't comment on it. I'm not really sure, but if Caden House can come in and essentially do the exact same thing for you that Darius Adams does for you right now, maybe on a discount, is there room for both? Like, these are the questions they're going to have to answer. You look at someone like Turkson, who at the end of this game, I was visiting my parents, we watched this game together, they didn't even remember that Turkson had played at the end of the game. After watching his 5 minutes, he had 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 turnovers, which is fine, 0 blocks, 0 steals, and 3 fouls. So the only thing that kept him from a trillion in the box score was the fouls, which that's tough. So if you're Turkson and you're looking where you can actually be a contributor next year, You've got Adama Tamadou coming in, who is already a better player than Turkson day one. That's tough, man. That's going to be tough. Flock Prods, chances of getting Akizi and Edema. Jeff has talked about this a lot on the site. I'll direct you that way because he's more locked in on that kind of stuff. I think just going literally by your wording, the chances of getting them both, Akizi and Edema, I think is very low personally. Getting the chance of getting one of the two of them, I think is very high, and that being Edema of the two. I do not expect them to get Akizi personally. That's based on no sourcing or reporting. It's just gut feeling that coming here also with Baba, like maybe if he stays at 27, maybe there's more room to do that. Was cool to see his dad back here a couple times recently, so that's nice, but we'll see. He's going to get the best of all these other programs' best offers, and it's going to be interesting at the very least. And NIL is going to become a thing. So I think Edema backing up for El Payne next year is probably your much more likely scenario, but we can talk about that here as we go. As soon as the season is over, I am planning to do like where are we with the recruits that we're bringing in, like roundup of the high school senior years that these guys had that are committed for next year. And what's really what we think we could expect from them, next season for the Terps. And then I'll also do another podcast on the transfer portal targets I would like to see them key in on. So we'll probably wait till after the Big Ten tournament to do that one. Let's see if there's any other things worth commenting on from today here. I want to shout out Julian Reese real quick. Kudos to him for getting a two-way contract for the Washington Wizards. If you're not familiar with the two-way contract, it's basically you split your time between the main ball club, the Washington Wizards, and the G League affiliate, the Capital City Go-Go. He's been performing pretty well for Raptors 905, the Raptors G League team. As a rookie for that team where they had a few more experienced bigs, he wasn't playing a ton, but he was averaging like 8 and 7 and, in the teens minutes, which is pretty good from a productivity standpoint. I thought he was very good defensively. For them in the minimal amount of Raptors 905 basketball I watched this season. I asked somebody who covered their team what they thought of him, and they were like, dude, he's good. We wish we had kept him. If you want to look up G League stats, this is a pro tip to everybody. If you go to their website or in Basketball Reference, any of these places, there are two portions of the season for the G League. They have, quote, the tip-off tournament, which is really the first half of their season. They are games that count toward their standings and real stats for these guys, and then their actual regular season, which count toward their real postseason standings. At the end of that tip-off tournament, they play like they're basically G League Cup games. So you want to pull the stats for both of those together. So in 38 games so far this year for Raptors 905, Julian is averaging 8 points per game in 17 minutes played, 7.2 rebounds, so basically 8 and 7. With an assist and about a block a game, and shooting 63% from the field, 66% from the free throw line on limited attempts, but just solid numbers. You play teens minutes and you get 8 and 7, like you're pretty productive, especially when you look at it on like a pretty 36 basis. So cool to see him come back home for the Wizards, and I think that's awesome. If you're not familiar again with the two-way contract, it basically means you're getting like half of the rookie minimum salary. So that's probably over the course of a year, a two-way contract would net you about $636,000 for this season. So that's interesting. For him, that number has been prorated, obviously. So you sign a two-way contract, it's whatever split of the season is left, you get that portion of the $600K or whatever. So he probably made, low six digits for the rest of his G League season, and then probably makes another couple $100K here at most to close out the season. There's about a third of the season left, so maybe you make $230K of that 630, something like that. So Julian Reese making, almost $500,000 to play basketball here in the States this year, and maybe get a cup of coffee with one of these big ball clubs over time. So he will probably play some NBA minutes for them this season. Doing it here in Washington is super cool. So I'm happy for him. Always a good dude. Forever one of my favorite Terps because he stayed and didn't have to do that, and he was in some particularly awkward lean years here too. So shout out to him for that. Also, shout out to the Terps media team here. Like to give credit where it's due, and maybe this is Jim Smith promoting this because it did not seem to happen much under Damon Evans' regime. But they are actually promoting the former players. Like Alumni Weekend was not an aberration last weekend. Today, you see them like making actual attempts to promote that Gary, Lonnie, and Steve were back together and tweet that out and put it on their social medias across the board here. So I like that connection to former Terps. Maybe they're just leaning into it because this current team is not very good and they want to play on nostalgia. I don't know. I don't care what the reason is. I still like when they see it. It was infuriating to me in past seasons. Be like, look, there's Sean Mosley sitting courtside, and never see him on the jumbotron or and on any of the social media channels too. So it's cool that they're leaning into that, and I like to give them a little credit. Let's see, Stephen S. Ryan Hunt is a center that I saw on 247 prospect list for Maryland, has an offer from Maryland. Do I know any information about him? I do not. I will look into him. I don't know if that's a 26 or a 27, but I'll add it to the list and get back to you with that one. JLU wanted to know about Akisi and Dima. I did talk about them while you were away, so scroll back about 5 minutes here when the pod's posted, and we'll go from there. Appreciate all you guys tuning in the chat here and jumping in with us. Again, if you can hit that like button for us, we always appreciate that. We'll be back with more Maryland basketball coverage here over the remainder of the season here. The Terps probably looking to be in that bottom 4 set of seeds in the Big Ten tournament here, which means they would have to win 6 games in 6 days, which is not particularly likely, in my opinion. Maryland's next game is Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's tough, and they've got some stuff to play for here from a seeding perspective as well. They want to be in that top 4 seed, so they're going to be motivated. And then Maryland will close out the regular season on Sunday at home against top 10 ranked Illinois, 3 p.m. on Sunday the 8th. So stay locked in with us. We'll have coverage of both those games here on IMS Radio.